Uh, we're going to get started. We're going to be looking at remedies and what we can do to remedy these various problems. And we looked at my life
vegetable juices and also fruit juices.
And I don't know how well you can hear.
And you pretty much let God lead you. There may be some things that you may want to not use here.
Talking about,
he may tell you to go another direction.
This man had invited me to his home.
Is any other question?
His cousin has colon, brain, and cancer. And so he had allowed me to first thing I knew that I had to go in and I had
happens to a lot of old people when they're in the nursing home.
I want to give you a little background. Many years ago when I started this work, I worked as a traveling missionary. I would go into the homes with people and I would live with them. And I would minister the simple treatments and present Jesus Christ, illustrated through the gospel and medical missionary work. And so I was in California and this man called me and asked me would I come and work with his cousin. I told him that, I was already working with a terminal cancer case and I just could not do it. And he asked me, he said, well, I know that you keep the Sabbaths. He said, would you come up on your Sabbaths? Well, he had me in a bind. I told him, yes, I would. And he flew me up there that Friday afternoon. And when I got there, his father told me that they was Muslims and that I could not eat in their home. I could not sleep in their house. And I told him, okay. And he felt really bad about that. He really was troubled about that. And he was really troubled. But I told him, there's places I cannot sleep in, and there's things that I will not eat. So we had some things in common. And I began working with this boy, and after I did an assessment of his problem, I knew what I had to do. I had to get his bowels back. They've been in bed a lot, and their colon becomes, sluggish. Right. And I knew I had to get
like, and they have to go in
and so what I had to do is go in.
Well, this is what I'm doing. You have to go in there and pull that stuff out. And then, is that hurting again?
Take my hand.
Let me try to go back up in there again.
With olive oil. Fix my hand in such a way to dilate his breath. And I would go up to his breath and I could pull out the
see how it looked like
yes.
Like a pig.
The sound of the video is
old.
We can't hear what you're saying. We can't hear the video, but
it's like,
okay.
All right.
Can you hear me all right?
He's got the pain to the stomach. If he get cleaned out, that pain in the stomach gonna be the first thing to go.
Okay. Anyway,
when the video stops and you talk, we hear you better. But while the video is going on and we can't hear, we actually lose everything you say. Thank you.
All right. So I had to put on a pair of gloves and lubricate my hand and go up in his rectum and dilate his rectum. And I had to depack him, pull out the old waste that was trapped in his colon.
Stomach still cramping? Can you feel that water going up in your stomach? Yeah, right here. Okay, hold it up.
So what I had to do, I had to
let me know when you feel that water going.
I did actually two different types of enemas. I did a hot enema and a cold enema. I did that hot and cold contrast so I could get his rectum to dilate and I could get better movement from his peristaltics. And that worked pretty sufficient, but I also had to give him an oil enema to lubricate his rectum because this waste was hard and it was dry and I knew that when it started coming through, it would be somewhat abrasive to his colon. So I lubricated it real well, and then I proceeded with these enemas.
Let's go in it?
Okay. That's what I want. See, can you hold it? Don't let it come out.
Hold the water. Don't let it come out, okay?
Hold it.
And then okay?
So now what I'm doing, after I had put the oil retention enema in his rectum, it was still not coming out sufficiently. So I had to massage his colon to try to loosen up some of the impaction. Now, I want you to understand one thing. I'm working on the Sabbaths. I started early that Sabbath morning working on this young man. And there was a lot of Muslims, young and old. They was in the room, on the other side of the room. They was looking at me. They wouldn't talk with me. They just looked. And I really didn't pay much attention to them. My main focus was to see if I could help this young man. He was about 23 years old. So I began to massage his colon to try to manipulate the waste past the tumors that was in his colon so that I could release the waste out of his colon. You let me know if it hurts now. I'll lighten up.
It does feel like the way, huh?
You got impaction. And it just closes your colon off. And it happens to a lot of people. But this is why you just can't stay in the bed all day. I don't care if it hurts you. This bed is your greatest anchor. That bed, it may feel good laying here. And what you have to do is they're trying to give up. They're tired. They've been battling pain and discomfort. They're discouraged. They're young. And they really just tired. And you have to try to encourage them not to give up, that you have enough left. You have enough vital forces to fight back. And so this is most important when you're working with somebody that have a problem, is to try to encourage them to fight with everything they have to overcome this problem. And even when you just sitting, you ought to be setting up. I don't care if it hurt a little bit, set up anyway. Because people that be in the hospital, when they in the hospital just for 3 days, they can't even walk by themselves without being busy, because they've been in the bed. And that's why you can't just stay in the bed. To get well, it's gonna hurt. And you're gonna have to fight with all the strength you got and pray. And you can beat it. You're strong enough and you're young enough to do it. Now, and this young man, he really don't know the God that I know. But he's searching for some hope beyond his mentality to comprehend. I must have faith for him. And I must believe that I can communicate with God, and God will hear my prayer in behalf of this man. This is where intercessional prayer is so important. Remember the man that was severely sick. He said, God, help my unbelief. And so a person don't have to believe. They have to trust that you can help them. You have to trust that God would enable you to help them. Cousins, your brothers and sisters, your mother and them, they can't feel sorry for you. If they feel sorry for you, it's your death warrant. They know what it's going to take to get you well. I work with thousands of people like you. And if I can convince them to get well, they'll get well. If they give up because it hurt, they won't get well. But there's no reason why you, young as you is, that you can't get well. You're too young. Your color look good, your body look good. You can come out of it. You're going to fight. I don't care, just like an athlete. You got to play when it hurts. You hear that? You see, I'm gnashing on your stomach now. At first, I couldn't even hardly touch your stomach. Your body would get conditioned to
to pain and to touch. And this is why you got to keep doing this. If you never touch something, it'd be real sensitive. Now, I'm pressing really, really hard. Now, look at that. You see that? If there was a lot of cancer in your stomach, I couldn't touch you like this.
So what it is,
did that hurt?
He has cancer all through his body, and there's tumors in his colon. But when the scans looked at it, it looked like the whole colon was blocked off because the fecal matter had packed around the tumors or the polyps, and it had sealed off the colon where no feces could get past. So he showed all the symptoms of a total blockage of the lower bowels. But this was only because the fecal matter had impacted around those polyps and tumors. And my guess was that if I could loosen up this waste that has impacted around those polyps and tumors, that I could get some gas, I could get some fecal matter passed, and this would enable him to have a bowel movement, and that would give him a lot of relief.
Just a little bit, though. I mean, that'll hurt anybody a little bit hard as I'm doing. You're doing good.
It helps you know the colon or the organs you're working with. I knew that I had to deal with the ascending colon, the transversal colon, the descending colon, and the sigmoid colon, and the rectum and the anus. I knew that the appendix was up under the secrum, and I knew I had to stimulate that appendix to release some fluid out of the head of the appendix, which would stimulate peristaltic action. So knowing that, I had something to work with.
Let me check and see. See, this would have you packed up.
That's what it was. Oh,
yeah.
They feel better?
Yep. And it's just like, just like clay.
It's like clay, yeah.
Oh my God. Blocked up. It had embedded itself around the polyps and tumors, which on the scan and the symptoms showed that he had a total blockage. But it was this hard impacted waste that was causing the problem. Once that was removed, I was able to get the pressure, the gas, and the fecal matter past those polyps, and he was able to have a bowel movement, and it gave him a lot of relief.
This is an oil element.
Yeah, I think it took the oil element to go in there and lubricate it and break the loose. And you still feel a lot better.
So the one days working, this is the most discouraging part of it. You work hours and hours to try to help someone. After giving him an enema, he was bed confined. So I knew then I need to also give him a steam treatment to try to release some toxins that is embedded in his body. I had to open up those pores and sweat that toxin out of him. And we're well acquainted that a fever treatment is an artificial treatment of fever that produces phagocytosis or produce an immune response. So I was trying to get that immune system to work at an optimal level so they could reduce the amount of cancer, microbes or bacteria, or whatever it may be, inflammation in the body.
This is a steam bath?
Yeah, it's a bed steam bath. It's not really the way I want it, but, I'm just really trying to.
Did you want me to send someone to get some more real quick? Yeah, with the her
This is the Epsom salt here.
the salt rub.
I'm going to do with him in the bed. And then I'll do a sponge bath.
How often should I do this?
Well, you can do this every time, you give him a treatment.
What would you recommend I do?
at least a minimum 3 times a week to get all the dead skin off of it.
Okay. You can move.
And open his pores up so he can let the toxin out.
What will this Epsom salt do?
Just to open his pores up and get the dead skin off, release the toxins in his body, and to relax the central nervous system. This is one for bed. When a person is pretty much bed confined, you give them this type. And then you simply take
Now what I'm doing is I'm giving them a salt,
give them a sponge bath.
a massage, or what we call a salt glow. The steam open up the pores. Now the salt is to help draw that toxins out of the system. Also, what it's going to do, it's going to relax the central nervous system. So it's very relaxing. It helps remove toxin out. It's really very effective in calming him down. Nothing like a good massage. But this is an Epsom salt massage. This is where I take Epsom salt and wet it with some water so that it look and feel like snow. And I do a friction rub over the body, his whole body.
You want to rotate it. I like to rotate the salt.
What I'm doing, I'm rotating the
trunk
salt
and
over his abdominal area to increase circulation. And this is really important because throughout his whole body, his lymphatic system is there trying to catch any toxins or microbes. And by circulating, I can help that lymphatic system do its job.
area. When I'm on his limbs, I like to work it in and push it everything toward the heart.
So you go in a circular motion pretty much?
Right.
So when the front up, you want to go.
This is a lot of hard work, but it's worth it in the end if you can give him some relief and give him some confidence that he can recover from his problem.
I gotta go to Paris to get this done.
How often you need to do a day?
I can do it either once a day or minimum three times a week.
You can do a soft glow or soft massage 2 to 3 times a week. If you do it too much, it can be too abrasive for his colon, for his skin, and that could be somewhat irritating. So 2 to 3 times a week should be sufficient.
Once a day, you can't do it real hard because it'll just abrade the skin.
Okay. So the best would be.
And this is a real fine salt, so you might want to go with a kind of more coarse salt.
Okay. The cold salt 3 times a week every week, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Just open up the pores and get rid of the dead skin there.
Mm-hmm.
And so that kind of gives you an idea of what a whole day's work is about. I had to do juicing. I had to show them how to fix some meals that is really catered to his particular problem. After the day was over, I had to get him up out the bed and show them that he could walk. He hadn't walked in almost 3 months or longer, and because there's a lot of cancer in his pelvic bone. So what I had to do is help him to walk. And when he tried to get up, his pelvic bone would jump out of socket. And that would be a lot of pain. So what I had to do is to put my thumb in between his pelvic bone, and I had to walk beside him, pressing inward to keep it from popping out. And his family was very excited about that. He had a good attitude and a good spirit. And so it was a very successful treatment with him. And so God blessed me to give him some relief. Here's another man. This man, Clem Boatwright, this old man, he taught me medical missionary work. I was a young man, and he took me on his wings. He was a mountain man. He lived up in the mountains of East Tennessee. And I went up to live with him there. And it was a very rugged life. He was a mountain man. He would walk me through the woods, and he would lay down on his belly and drink water out the creek. And he would tell me to do it, and I would do it. And he would go through and pick out herbs and show me different herbs. And I learned so much from him. He was up in age, and he got sick, and he came to my facility. And another young man, I have another young man that I was training to help him.
Okay, just look up a little bit.
That's one that people don't ever touch. I just like to go to the field, associate that with that Latin numerology.
Oh, yeah.
And 666 is that Latin numerology.
I learned so much from this man. He was a great blessing in my life. And I will never forget him. But what I would do is I would take these young men and women, and I would bring them to my facility, and I would put them over the care of some senior citizen, some older person. And I would watch and see how they treat them. Would they bathe them? Would they keep them clean? Would they feed them first before they feed themselves? All these things let me know if they really had the quality to be a medical missionary physician. There are different types of medical missionaries. You have your medical missionary, in which we all are called. We have come to a time when every member of the church is to be a medical missionary. But there are some that are specially called. These are medical missionary physicians. They would go far beyond the call of duty. Their whole life is embedded to help others and not themselves. It takes a lot of sacrifice to be a medical missionary physician. And, you know, they don't get a lot of the accolades and the recognition that one that is going around doing lectures and seminars may get. But their gratification and satisfaction is that they have helped someone to live a little more peaceful life. And so that's what God called me to do. He called me to be a medical missionary physician, evangelist. And, you know, I missed out on a lot, but it's nothing I needed. God has been gracious. One thing that this man taught me was about the pine trees and different trees. And after he taught me how to recognize it and how to extract the essential nutrients out of it, I read this quote on Council on Health, page 171. How eagerly do they turn to the scene of nature? How glad would they be for the advantages of a sanitarium in the country, where they could sit in the open air, rejoice in the sunshine, and breathe the fragrance of the tree and flowers. There are life-giving properties in the balsam and in the pine, in the fragrance of the cedar and in the fir. And there are other trees that have health-promoting properties. So God is telling us that there are health properties in the trees. The trees in particular have a lot of nutrients and property, medicinal properties in them, because their root goes so deep and is able to extract more nutrients than herbs can do. Well, trees are herbs too, but they just go much deeper. And so I began to study these trees, and I found out that for every tree, there's a medicine. You just need to know how to extract it and how to use it. One particular thing about this tree is good for your respiration. It helps you breathe and help you respirate. It's good for all type of bronchial problems and respiratory problems. Make a strong tea out of it. You can flavor it a little with a little honey and a little ginger, but overall, this is a dynamic tree. And if you ever have any type of respiratory problem, you might want to go back and study the fragrance of the pine, the cedar, and the fir. and many of them, the birch tree, they all, and the poplar, and I could keep going. They all have a lot of properties, even the willow tree. The willow tree, we know that they make aspirins from the willow tree. So it is also, I have wonderful properties to them. Another good thing you can do with the pine tree, you can boil it and make a strong tea out of it. And you can use it as an eye wash. It is really good for strengthening the eye to just make the eye work good, especially for macular degeneration, for cataracts, and increase the vision and the strength. You know, I am determined never to have to wear glasses. And I'm not a young man. I hate to even think about that, but, and I read a lot in poor light. My eyes are constantly under a lot of strain. But when I start having problems with my vision, I know what to turn to. And this has been a great service to me. Another good remedy is the figs. As I read in the book of Isaiah, the 38th chapter, the fig is just a tremendous herb. It's too bad that many of our people are not familiar with this wonderful remedy. How that you can make a fig poultice by simply cutting in half the fig and heating it up and applying it as a plaster. If it's dried figs, you can reconstitute it by putting in some warm water until it swell up and then heat it up. It is good for boils and tumors, abscess on the teeth, in the mouth, abnormal growth. It also helps remove scar tissue, blisters and warts. It's just fantastic. I really like it for breast cancer or any type of tumor mass in the system. Now, where I get the inspiration from the fig is from the Bible. If Isaiah could be so successful in working with Hezekiah, then if God is no respecter of person, then I believe truly that I can use it in the same faith that Isaiah used it, and I believe I get the same effects. So try the fig. You will not be disappointed. When you get the tragic news that you know, you've got an incurable disease, and you start wondering, what shall I do? I got a tumor mass in my chest. Lord, I don't know what to do. Should I get chemo? Should I trust the hand of the physicians? Lord, what shall I do? Remember God's own remedy, the one that has been proven and tried. The fig has been proven to work, and God blessed that, those simple remedies. It will not work if you don't have faith. It just will not. Another thing, if you have respiratory problems such as bronchitis, pneumonia, any type of buildup of mucus in the system, we experienced that a lot during this pandemic, and you need a way to expel this mucus. Remember, coughing is the body's ability to expel the mucus out the system. You don't want to take an antihistamine because antihistamines will stop you from coughing, which will prevent you from expelling the mucus. That is the wrong thing to do. You need histamines. Histamines would actually enable you to cough. And also you need herbs to loosen up the mucus so that when you cough, you can spit it out. And keep in mind that when you take this remedy, it would make you cough more, but eventually you would expel more and you would breathe even better. Now, what is this remedy? First of all, I call it a triple portion of the Holy Spirit. You take 1 cup of honey, half a cup of garlic, half a cup of onion, the juice of 2 lemons, half a teaspoon of cayenne pepper, 1/3 teaspoon of peppermint, a half a cup of horseradish. You blend all this together and you take a half a teaspoon as needed. Now you can even modify this even more. You can actually put half a teaspoon of menthol crystals. That would help. But you can put a little ginger in it. That also would enhance it. But it's a good cough tonic, and it can be used, and it can be very effective in dealing with colds and bronchial problems that are giving you a lot of problems. Another one is a sinus treatment. I've had great success with sinus treatment, and also with those that had the sniffles. I helped them breathe better to unblock a blocked sinus. Okay, this video won't play, so I'll just go right on through it. And this remedy here is one that I talked about yesterday. It's one where I use the lemon juice with 1 drop of lemon juice in the eye in the morning and 1 drop of honey in your eye at night. And that is a really fantastic remedy for vision problems. If you have pain, this remedy have never failed me. It is fantastic. And everyone that use this remedy have high praises. It's good for shingles. It's good for any type of pain, inflammation in the body. It's good for arthritis. You simply take 8 ounces of vegetable fat. That can be coconut oil with some beeswax in it. You can take 8 ounces of coconut oil, 3 ounces of beeswax, melt that to a liquid, and you can add 2 tablespoons of peppermint oil. Let me just slow down a little bit. I knew I only had 45 minutes, so I'm rushing, but take 8 ounces of vegetable fat. That can be in the form of coconut oil. Add about 3 ounces of beeswax, melt that to a liquid. Add 2 tablespoons of peppermint oil, 4 tablespoons of cayenne pepper, 2 ounces of DMSO, that is the liquid. Mix it all together and rub it or apply it over the area. This will immediately produce a warm heating effect. Matter of fact, your body will stay warm all night long. If you have knee problems where your knees are hurting you and very painful, you can rub this over your knee. And so when you're sitting and you get up, you will notice you have no pain. Another good one is the cabbage poultice. It is real good for arthritis and rheumatism, any type of pain in the body. You simply just take 4 leaves of the cabbage and you pound them. You pound them with a wooden spoon, bruising those cabbage leaves. And you lay 4 leaves on top of each other. And you apply that over the inflammation. Works really good. I normally would put that on at night to let them sleep with it. Next morning, they notice a big relief in their arthritic pain. Here's another one where, I really like, but it's a precaution with this one here. A lot of people come to me, they need a knee replacement or they need a hip replacement. And they want to avoid that. And so they ask me, is there something we can do where we do not have to have a knee replacement? And I said, there's an old remedy that is quite effective, but you cannot apply this remedy on a diabetic, a person that cannot bruise or scar their tissue. I said, you cannot do it. So if they're diabetic, please do not use this remedy. There are other things we can use. So what you do, you take 1 head, a bulb of garlic, the whole bulb, not the clove, the whole bulb. You chop it up, you put it in the blender. You add just enough water to make a thick paste out of it. And you smear that over a white piece of cloth and you wrap that over the top part of the kneecap. And I'm going to emphasize over the top part of the knee, not the side, not the back of the knee, the top. Please remember this. This is where people make the biggest mistake. They put it behind the kneecap, they put it on the side. You don't want to do that because when that garlic blisters them, every time you bend your knee, it's going to crack it and it's going to take a long time to heal and it's going to be very painful. Put it on the top of the kneecap and tell them it must remain there for at least 6 hours. This garlic is so powerful that it will go in and it will draw the inflammation out of the kneecap and around the kneecap, and it will put it up in a big blisters. You develop large blisters all on the top of your kneecap. You see those blisters right there. Then I would simply just take a sterilized needle and I would prick those blisters. I won't squeeze them. I just put a little holes in them with a sterilized needle. And I would drain all of that fluid out of those blisters so that those blisters would collapse back down and heal without leaving a scar. If you rub your kneecap, you're going to offset those blisters and then you will produce a scar. But if you just do exactly what I'm saying, don't rub it, prick them with many little holes in them and drain the fluid out, you'll find that that will work a lot better than trying to squeeze the fluid out. Another particular remedy is the white potato suppository. With this remedy, you simply take the white potato and you make a French fry out of it, and you insert that up in the rectum. This is really good for fissures and hemorrhoids, any type of inflammation in the rectum. The white potato is a carbohydrate, and it actually will absorb the inflammation out of the tissue. It is really good, especially a raw white potato. Push it all the way up in the rectum where you cannot see it. When you have a bowel movement, it will come out. I love it, and you will be very pleased to use this simple remedy. God has a lot of simple remedies that we can use that will save expense and time and agony. Another one that you're familiar with is the aloe vera poultice. This is where and I love to take an aloe vera leaf, cut it in half, and fillet it open like a fish, and lay the aloe vera gel part against the skin with the skin on the outside and wrap that. That is really good, and it's very useful in dealing with burns and inflammation, infections, and so on. Sugar poultice is probably one of my famous ones that I really love. I work with a lot of bed sores and cancerous sores, gangrene. Sugar is so powerful, such a deadly toxin. It's not in the food. It's not food. It's a deadly chemical. If you take 1 pound of white sugar, add 1 ounce of liquid iodine, a betadine in it, and pack the bed sore with that. Cover it all up. The sugar will oxidize because it's a carbohydrate. The heat from the body will cause it to oxidize, pulling the carbon out the wound and planting the oxygen back into the tissue. And where there's oxygen, there's life. And you may have to do this 3 or 4 times a day in order for it to be sufficient to totally debride the tissue. But that sugar, as it oxidizes, it's going to pull out that dead tissue. And then once you get all that dead tissue out, you clean it with hydrogen peroxide. You may have to do that 3 or 4 times a day. Then what you want to do is to take your hand, a wooden paddle, and you just spank it. You just hit it. You just hit it like that. Not hard, just hit it a little bit. And as you kind of spank it a little bit, the blood vessels will come to the surface and it will bead up and start to bleed. That's what you want. You want increased blood flow. Where there is good flowing blood, there's life. And this oxygen would this blood would take oxygen to the tissue and the body will heal. After about a month or so of doing that, it would heal up like you see right here. That bed sore, once again, that's what it looked like. After 2 to 3 months, it healed up, hardly leaving a scar. So these remedies are real effective. They can be used by faith if we would trust God's own remedies. I've used the sugar poultice for different parts of the body, for the knee, for the arm. Each time it has not failed me in its application. So remember also another good remedy if you're working with brain cancer. A good thing to do with brain cancer is to reduce the pressure. Reduce the pressure. I found that, and I work with a lot of brain cancer. It is the number 3 condition that I've worked with over the last 2 or 3 years. The biggest challenge with brain cancer is pressure. The brain is encapsulated in the skull. And so it really don't have the luxury to move and expand, because of the skull. So anytime there's inflammation on the brain, or growth in the brain will swell. And as it swell, it cannot move except it brings pressure in the brain. That pressure causes a lot of problems with nerve transmission, with blood flow, and eventually it would produce a lot of seizures. The eyes would cross. we have found ways to reduce the pressure, extend the life of a person, and possibly reverse the problem. One good treatment is a tofu poultice. And that's where we take a block of tofu and we crumble it up. We take about 3 ounces of ginger, fresh ginger, about 3 ounces of garlic, blend it up, and we take a little bread flour, enough as a thickener, just add just enough to hold it together. And we mix all that up together and we put it in the freezer and get it real cold. Take it out before it freezes, and then flatten it out with a rolling pin on a cloth, cotton cloth. Lift it up and apply that, mold that around the head, and wrap that with plastic, securing that. And then give a hot foot bath. This is a really good treatment. It will take the congestion of blood from the brain and move it to the lower extremities. That will reduce the amount of congestion in the brain. Now, there are some really good things that would help break down a brain tumor mass. One of them are asparagus. Asparagus have specified enzymes in them that will break down cancerous tissue and will stop the progression of brain cancer. So they have to eat at least 3 ounces of asparagus every day. You have to make sure you keep their bowels moving 2 to 3 times a day. They must be put on a real wholesome and good wholesome diet. They possibly need some turmeric to reduce inflammation, and there's a whole protocol for this. I won't have time to go through it, but that are the essence of what we would do. Okay, so at this point, I'm at a point now where I'm gonna get ready to stop and I'll open up for some questions. I have no idea what time it is, but I'm sure I'm probably close to my time. But let me just talk to you about if you ever experience a person that's been burnt, like with gasoline, scalding water, the first thing you want to do is to take some baking soda, mix it in ice water, make a baking soda plaster, and apply that over the burnt area. That will neutralize the acid burn immediately. Then when you finish doing that, cover it with honey. The honey is served as a mucous membrane until the tissue will regrow. So those are just some quick little things you can learn. And the more you practice these things, it's second nature. I don't have to think about it. This is my life. I live, I breathe to see how I can help someone. And every new disease that come about is a wonderful challenge for me. I'm motivated. I have grown so accustomed now that the disease such as high blood pressure, diabetes, arthritis, to me, I call those secondary diseases that are very easy to reverse. But I'm really fascinated when I deal with things such as AIDS, such as Lou Gehrig's disease, such as the corona virus. Those are challenged because they're brand new. But I found that even them, they are very simple to overcome. I give you one special little hint. I used to think for many years that diabetes was the easiest condition on earth to reverse, and it is. They're senseless for a person to suffer from diabetes, but type 2 diabetes. I will confess that type 1 diabetes, it is a struggle because the beta cells of the pancreas are not functioning well because of genetic problems with the cells. But even with that, type 1, in many cases, you can reverse it or you can improve the quality of life. But type 2, nearly 100% can recover within 10 days. I am fully persuaded with that. But I'm having a challenge with that because this new pandemic that we're encountering that have everybody scared to death, scared to breathe, I'm finding that it may be a lot easier to reverse than diabetes. There's a whole host of things that can stop it in its track. And so I'm happy to know that no matter how fearful a condition may be, God's own simple remedies. God has placed simple remedies within our reach, and these remedies can be used with faith, with no denial of faith, if we trust in God. So I'll stop right there, and if I didn't use up all my 45 minutes, y'all let me know, and I'll continue. Now I'm going to stop, and we'll open up for questions.
Well, you got 10 more minutes.
10 more minutes, okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Pastor. If you have an any cardiovascular problem, and you may be having angina pains, or you may be threatening a heart attack, you can actually stop a heart attack within 30 to 60 seconds by taking some cayenne pepper. Take a third to a half a teaspoon of cayenne pepper, and you put it in 1 ounce of warm water. If the person is conscious, if they're conscious, not unconscious, and let them drink that. Within 30 to 60 seconds, you will stop a heart attack. You can feel the cayenne pepper radiant in the chest. It is really good. If the person is unconscious and you want to revive them, you simply take a third, fourth of a teaspoon of cayenne pepper, and you try to put it under their tongue. And in many cases, this would be enough. If that do not revive them instantly, then give them CPR. This is a good treatment, and it works fantastic. It works better than nitroglycerin. Other treatment is a clay bath. A clay bath absorbs inflammation and toxins out of the system. And so if a person is having a lot of problem with inflammation and pain, you can simply give them a clay bath or clay poultice. That works really good. Hot fever bath is another wonderful treatment where you would put them in a tub and you would get them really hot. I like putting about a half a pound of Epsom salt in the water and increase the temperature. Make sure you check their temp to make sure that they don't get too hot, but you do want them to get hot. You want them to sweat, but you must monitor them to make sure you don't overheat them. But this is a good treatment to boost their immune system so they can fight infections in the body. This treatment here, I talked about it as a salt glow. It's a friction rub where you rub salt all over the body to pull toxin out of the system. Maybe at some later time, I can really talk to you about my favorite subject, and that's cancer. I've spent more working with cancer than any single disease. And I work with a lot of it, all different types. I'm an herbal surgeon. In my years, I have performed many thousands of herbal surgeries. I know the technique. I'm one of the few people that understand the technique, even though people are trying to do it. A lot of people are actually doing it the wrong way, and it causing a lot of harm. But I do know how to extract tumors out of a person's body without cutting them with a knife. And that's simply knowing the chemical reaction about some herbs and minerals. By mixing them together, you can apply it topically on the skin, and it can actually pull the tumor out of a person's body. You have to know what you're doing. You have to know how to apply it. You have to know how much to apply. You must ascertain, is it a type of tumor that is more favorable to extract? Some are not. For instance, if you have a tumor inside of a kidney, that would not be a favorable position to pull that tumor out because you could destroy the function of the kidney or the lungs. But if it's a tumor growing outside of an organ, then it shouldn't have no problem extracting that tumor. Sometimes the tumor may be a solid mass, sometimes it may be a fluid-filled cyst. But either way, the herbal surgery can be quite effective in dealing with that. Sometimes you may run across a case where there's a lot of pain in the body, burning pain. What I simply have done is took a little paper cup and I put water in it, and say if I take a 8-ounce paper cup, I would put 6 ounces of water in it, 1 ounce of DMSO, And then I would put some cayenne pepper in it, about a teaspoon of cayenne pepper and a half a teaspoon of peppermint in it. And then I would put that in the refrigerator and I would freeze it till it become ice and hard. Then I would take it out, I would cut away the paper about a half an inch from the top of the paper cup, exposing the ice. Then I would take the paper cup and I would massage that into the pane. Just keep rotating that into the pane until I numb that painful area. When I finished doing that, then I would take some olive oil and I would rub it over the area. Then I would take DMSO and rub it over the area. That typically will stop pain almost immediately. These here are just different pictures of people that they're actually videos, but I don't have time to play them, of a man that I extracted a tumor out of his face. He was going to lose his eye, part of his brain, and part of his face, and he chose not to do that. So he asked me, could I assist him in removing the tumor out of his face? Well, I instructed his wife to do it. I believe in doing that. I believe in that when someone is sick, then instead of me doing it, I teach a family member, a loved one to do it. And so they're learning at the same time, they take the responsibility of it. And so they got a personal need to help a loved one. And this is the safest and the best way to do this. I advise people not to do this treatment because it's an invasive treatment and you could get in some legal problems doing a treatment like this. But when this must be done, encourage a family member to do it, and you serve nothing but to be an instructor, instructing them how to properly do it. And you'll find that's the best way to do it. I do a lot of enemas. I do colonics. I do retention enemas. They're very important. I always tell people that if you're feeling bad, the first thing you want to ascertain, are you having bowel movements? If they're having bowel movements, then I want to ask them, how many times are you urinating? And then I want to ask them, what color is your urine? If your urine is dark and not producing much urine, then I know that the sediments of that urine has been saturated up through the system that could kill the appetite, that could, just make them feel sick. And so I must deal with that by making sure I rehydrate them with plenty of fluids. If they're real weak, I know I must replenish the electrolytes with potassium and sodium. Then I have to function on the bowels, how I can clean the colon out by simply doing some enemas or colonics. Enemas are small 1 liter injection of fluids up in the rectum. It can be in the form of teas, it can be in the form of water. You can also do feeding enemas. If a person have cancer of the esophagus, cancer of the stomach, they cannot eat, you can feed them through the rectum. And this can be sufficient for a small period of time, but it gives you time to try to work with that esophagus or work with that stomach where they can take food orally. So don't think that this will last for a long time. It won't, but you can keep them alive by feeding a little nourishment in the rectum. You must know what to feed them with. That's important also. But a colonic is a much bigger, nothing but really a glorified enema, versus with an enema, you may have 1 liter. With a colonic, you may have 5 gallons or 10 gallons. But either way, they're designed to flush and clean out the colon. If a person is in a lot of pain, sometimes I have to give them 5 to 6 small coffee enemas a day in order to control the pain. After I clean out the colon, then I must replenish the intestinal flora. The intestinal flora is the friendly bacteria that we should have in our colon. And I said we should, not all of us have it because the intestinal flora is compromised. And so all they have is pathogenic and disease bacteria.
And
let's
doing
take
the
a look at,
animal,
since this one play, let's take a look at how to do this animal.
Make sure that you fill your enema bag up with your proper solution, whether you're doing a coffee enema, a herb enema, or a water enema. Then make sure that your tip and your cutoff valve is cut off so the solution won't run out before you insert it. Then just before you insert the tip into the rectum, cut the inflow valve on and let the water run free, taking any excess air that's in the tube out before you insert it in the rectum. Then cut the tip off, get you a good lubricant, and lubricate the tip real well before inserting it. And then insert the tip real slow into the rectum. And then ask your patient to let you know when he's ready to go to the bathroom. When he feel like he's ready, he can hold no more, then cut the inflow valve off and remove the tip and allow him to go to the bathroom.
These are medical mannequins. It's not real people. It's like a big doll. Okay, so don't be offended because you're looking at a real person's backside. This is medical mannequins. We have a lot of them that do a lot of different things. We use those as teaching aids so that the students can have a chance to get the feel of actually working on a person. This is a fleet animal, and they are very handy because there are times when you cannot give a regular animal. You can give an 8 to 10 ounce fleet animal. Today we are going to demonstrate how to give a fleet enema. And this is a small retention enema, and it can be an olive oil enema, especially when you're dealing with someone that has some hot fecal matter. They may have some fissures or hemorrhoids that are quite painful, and you need to lubricate the rectum. Or you may be simply doing a retention coffee enema or herb enema, or any solution you choose. First of all, buy you a little simple fleet enema. It can be anywhere from 2 inches to 4 inches. Remove the cap and lubricate the tip real well so there'll be no friction when you slide the tip in the rectum. Then insert it into the rectum real slow. The one thing I like about this fleet enema is the person's blood pressure is really high, and 200 over 105 or whatever it is, it's dangerously high. You can bring it down at least 15 to 20 points every time you give a fleet enema by simply taking 1 bulb of garlic, chop it up, put it in a blender, fill the blender up with water, and liquefy that. That's the whole bulb, not a clove. Liquefy it. Then strain it and put the garlic tea into a fleet enema. Inject about 2 or 3 ounces in the rectum and encourage the person to hold it for 5 minutes or longer. The garlic will absorb throughout the whole system. It will go in through the portal veins in the rectum, go right to the liver, right to the bloodstream, and it will bring the pressure down 15 to 20 points at a time. So if your pressure is really high, you may have to do 4 or 5 or more until you get it down. As you give the coffee enemas, then you sponge them down with room temperature, slightly cool apple cider vinegar. And you keep doing that. You check that pressure every 15 to 20 minutes, see if it's creeping back up. If it is, you give another enema. You keep doing it until you break that fever. You don't want to put the fever out, but you want to bring it back. I mean, not the fever, you want to bring the blood pressure down. Now, this would also work for a fever too, not cross them up. If you have a high fever, it would bring the fever down. If you have high blood pressure, it would reduce your blood pressure. It would do both. So, but you check it every 15 to 20 minutes to bring the pressure down. And then if you're trying to bring the fever down, you check it every 15, 20 minutes, you check their temp, and you notice the temp will start going down. So it's a very effective treatment. go back to here. This young man is one that he had parasites in his colon. And what I'm doing here is I'm exercising him. He had his brain has been burnt. And he's having grand mal seizures every hour on the hour. And so what I'm doing is I want to try to get some circulation and some motion back in him. And I put him on a parasite cleanse. And for about 3 days, I gave him wormwood. I gave him black walnut tea, wormwood, black walnut tea, and I've let him eat a lot of pumpkin seeds and garlic, celery, and onion. Parasites don't like that. So we're going to take him up and I'm going to give him an enema. This is a special type of enema to draw the parasites out. And so those parasites, they do not like garlic, horseradish, wormwood, ginger, celery. They don't like that. They want carbohydrates and sweets. Well, for 3 days, he have not been eating that. I went up, I laid him in the bed, I put a black trash bag up under him, and I injected some cow's milk in his rectum. The parasites, they love that sweetness of the cow's milk. They would run toward that cow's milk and he would have a bowel movement and it would pull all these worms out of his rectum. That's one of them, long spaghetti looking type worms that came out. And I was able to pull all these worms out of him and his grand mal seizures stopped. I worked a lot with Parkinson's disease and central nervous system diseases. And that takes a lot of physical therapy, occupational therapy, and also it takes using the right combination of herbs to rebuild the central nervous system. I take herbs such as banana, which is high in dopamine. I also make him a tea out of fava beans, which is also very high in dopamine. And I exercise him and I work with him. I do a lot of hydrotherapy, and I was able to reverse that Parkinson's disease. So my 10 minutes is probably up, so I'm going to stop. Okay, so we'll stop right there then, and we'll open up for some questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Elder Wilson. Just for those who want to ask questions, just raise your hands and you just ask for one questions, and please ensure that you actually your phones are or your devices are muted so that we don't hear anything while we are listening to the answers that will be coming from Elder Wilson. And also, Elder Wilson, there's a question here that I quickly want to ask you before we start taking hands. What is DMSO? What is DMSO?
DMSO is a water soluble that they get from pine trees. There's two elements in pine trees. There's a fat soluble called pine tar. There's another substance similar to that. It's called turpentine. But those are fat solubles. But the pine also produces a water soluble solution called DMSO. Chemists use it for a lot of different things. They use it in the laboratory to make a lot of medical products. They use it for organ transplant. So if you have a heart transplant, a kidney, they transport it in DMSO because DMSO stabilizes the cells and keep the cells from breaking down. They use it for paint thinners. They make antifreeze out of it. It is a very powerful thing. It's a solvent. If you got bladder cancer, they can distill it up in your bladder and it will stop the cancer cells, bladder cystitis, and knock it out. That's one of the few things that the medical system have legalized it to be used for, is bladder cystitis. So it's a water soluble solution.
Right.
It's very good. I mean, you know, if you know about it, I even take it orally because it's a very healthy product. Have never showed any history of toxicity.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for that. These are the hands. We got 5 hands so far. The first person is Mary. Mary, just one question as we move through the program. Go ahead. Unmute yourself.
Elder Wilson, thank you for your words of wisdom. Could you give me one natural remedy for early stage cataract, please?
Okay. Well, you know, we've talked a lot about cataract and vision problems over the weekend. So I want you to go back and rehearse your notes. One is take 1 drop of lemon juice in the morning. Put 1 drop of fresh lemon juice in your eyes in the morning. 1 drop of honey at night. You must do that for 21 days. Make sure you take a little extra vitamin C and make sure you drink some carrot juice. So take a little extra vitamin C, probably about 3,000 milligrams of vitamin C twice a day. You need to drink at least a half a liter of carrot juice a day. You must make sure that your bowels are moving regular. To accomplish that, take 1 tablespoon of psyllium powder. Mix that in about 6 to 8 ounces of juice. Shake it up. Drink that right down. Do that twice a day. Take 3 capsules of senna, S-E-N-N-A, 3 capsules of senna every other day. Do not take senna every day. It will give you diarrhea. It will make you gripe. People don't know how to take senna. They think, you know, it's too harsh, but you take it the wrong way. Take 3 capsules every other day. Make sure you drink 8 glasses of water a day. Give yourself 21 days, and you'll notice almost within no time at all improvement in your vision. That's what I would do. There are a number of other things, but for the sake of time, I won't share anymore. But that's a simple one you can do.
All right.
Would I have to repeat that, sir?
Which you have to do what?
Would I have to repeat this treatment? Or is it just the one treatment for 21 days and that's it?
Well, what I just shared with you, you know, the lemon juice in the morning, honey at night, and take some carrot juice, some vitamin C, and the bowel cleanser. You need to do all of that. Yes, it's a program.
Okay. Thank you so much.
All
All
right.
right. Thank you very much. The next person is Zoe. Zoe Evelyn.
Oh, hello. Hello, good morning, brother. Good afternoon, brother Mamon.
Yes.
I've been listening intently, but as you can hear, my voice is very hoarse. My medical condition affects my voice. I have had multiple brain surgeries in the past 4 years, and I don't expect you to answer half of my questions. I have put my email in the chat. But one thing that's very much disturbed me with all of this brain surgery is that I suffer from now debilitating spasms, loss of sensation, affecting my voice, my vision, my mobility, and diagnosis is possibly spinal shunt, and that carries a lot of risk to life and paralysis, and I can't consider that at the moment. So I've put my email in your chat privately, and I'm hoping that there's a way that I can contact you, because I'm very mindful that there's many people that need your time, and my attention span and my ability to communicate can become impaired. So I don't want to take up too much time, but the problem for me right now is loss of sensation in my body, consistent spasms, speech and things like that. So is there anything in the interim that can help me to soothe the pain, the spasms, things like that? And then hopefully maybe we can contact each other at some later stage.
Well, you are the exact case that I like to work with. This is what I specialize in. I travel all over the world and I troubleshoot the incurable conditions. And I'm fascinated in doing that. So this is a case I'm going to definitely have to talk with you. I'll give you my email. You email me. Chat, I may not even see the chat message you put in there. But if you email me, I give you my personal email. I will work with you tomorrow, today, if you contact me, because this is urgent. My name is Mamon Wilson. My email is Mamon Wilson. That's M-A-M-O-N, Wilson, W-I-L-S-O-N, 3, the number 3, at gmail.com. So that's Mamon, M-A-M-O-N, Wilson, 3, at gmail.com. You get in touch with me as soon as possible, and I've worked up a program and see if I can help you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Okay. Well, thank you. And the Lord continue to be with you and do what He needs to do for you. God bless. All right. The next person is Stacy. Is that Stacy? Stacy? Okay. Stacy followed by Christine. Go ahead.
Good morning, Elder Wilson.
Yes.
I'm having problem burning in my legs. I have high blood pressure since I had 4 years ago when I had my last child. I've developed hypertension. I have a bit of swelling in my ankles and this burning in my legs. Is there anything you can advise?
Well, I mean, I'm thinking that burning your legs has probably got to do with circulation.
Yeah.
That's what it appeared to me. Is it burning in both legs or one leg?
Both legs now, yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any edema in your legs?
I have, it's like swelling, yes, in my, yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Swelling.
I'm thinking that you probably need to go on a blood pressure program and also increase your circulation. First thing I would do with you is I would definitely go on some garlic enemas. Follow that program I just said. Take 1 whole bulb of garlic, not a clove, chop it up, put it in the blender, fill the blender up with water, and inject about between 4 and 6 ounces of garlic tea in your rectum. Keep doing that till it brings your pressure down. Then you need to reduce the amount of salt and free fats in your diet. That can be a problem. Get away from all fried food, reduce the amount of protein in your food. At this point, you need to eat probably about 85% raw diet. A lot of women don't drink enough water. You need to drink more water, at least 8 glasses of water a day. You need to start a walking regimen and, walk to your tolerance. Don't walk till it's painful, but increase your walking distance. That would increase your circulation. For that burning pain in your leg, take 8 ounces of coconut oil. Now, if you don't want to use coconut oil, you can use Vaseline. It'll work. So you can take 8 ounces of Vaseline, 6 teaspoons of cayenne pepper, 6 teaspoons of cayenne pepper, 1 teaspoon of peppermint oil, and then 1 ounce of DMSO. Mix that together and rub that over your legs and your feet. Now, make sure you don't touch your eyes with that because it will definitely burn your eyes, but just rub that real good. And then make sure that you don't wear any socks that leave marks on your leg. Keep your legs elevated as much as possible. And I think you can do a lot, to overcome that. You really need some hot and cold foot baths that would help your capillaries and arteries to dilate. Do hot and cold foot baths maybe 3 times a week. That would help. But I think your biggest problem is circulation and your blood pressure.
Okay.
Right.
Lovely.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much, Tracy. Christine Altner. Unmute yourself, please.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, Brother Mamon. It's me.
Thank you, Christine.
You know, I have a question with regards to my father. He is suffering many, many years from sinus disease. So he always had sinus problems, and the doctor, what he did was he pierced his bone. Like they went with an iron tube, sharp edged iron tube, right away from the front to the back. They pierced the bone, and they somehow went into the paranasal sinus or frontal sinus. I don't know what they did, but from that point on, anyway, he has always swelling and inflammation and sinus problems. So maybe you have something that you can advise or recommend for him?
Well, thanks a lot, Christine. I appreciate you calling and remind me that I was late this morning.
You're welcome.
But yes, for your father, it's a possibility he may have some scar tissue from them actually going in there. And he could have polyps. That could close off the sinus cavity. What you want to do is to take 1 to 2 drops of DMSO and put that in about a half a teaspoon of olive oil and drop that in the nose. Drop that in the nose. Well, let me back up. Take 1 or 2 drops of DMSO and then put 2 drops of peppermint extract in it and a half a teaspoon of olive oil. Mix that together. 2 drops of DMSO, 2 drops of peppermint, and a half a teaspoon of olive oil. And then you want to put that in his nose. Before you can count to 10, his sinus will be open. I guarantee that. Now, you know my number. You called me and tell me if it didn't work, okay? But it will be open. Now, but that's not going to cure him, but that will relieve the congestion and the blockage. DMSO is a solvent, so it's going to pass right through that scar tissue and dilate and make it open up. But to remove the polyps in the scar tissue, you need to get a paper bag, put some bloodroot powder. It have to be the fine bloodroot powder. Put it in a paper bag and let him hold that on his nose and sniff that up in his nose. That bloodroot, as you know, will break down protein. When it go in, it will eat out those scar tissue and those polyps. That's what I use in herbal surgery, is the main component of bloodroot. So I believe that will help him. If not, then, you know, get in touch with me and I give you a complete sinus regimen.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Wonderful. Thank
All
you
right.
so much.
Thank you very much. The next person in line, Charlotte and Josette. Those 2 names, please. First, Charlotte, unmute yourself. Thank you.
Hello there. Hi. Thank you very much for sharing your wisdom. I'm actually a guest on here.
Okay.
I'm really thankful that, you know, I'm listening to all of this. This is amazing. I have uterine fibroids that are really big, and I'm getting them removed privately next week, Saturday. But I'm aware that that's not the solution. Like, I know that there's hormonal imbalance issues, you know, that I have to deal with post-operation to ensure that they don't ever grow back again. You know, I need to adopt a lifestyle. And I just wondered if you had any advice on that.
Well, I work with a lot of fibroids and polycystic ovaries and endometriosis and you name it. Those are the areas, principal areas that I work in. You're right, it is the hormones that's doing that. Estrogenic level is too high, which is offsetting your progesterone level. So, you know, one thing I want to ask, how old are you?
I'm 36 years old.
Well, you're still a young woman, so you still got many years, you know, to be ovulating. Now, are they planning to do a complete hysterectomy or a partial one?
No, they're just going to remove the fibroids and not give me a hysterectomy.
Okay, well that's good then. That's not a bad procedure. I'm not opposed to surgery when it's necessary.
Mm,
If you're bleeding and hemorrhaging a lot,
yeah.
then yeah, you may need that, and that's a good procedure.
Mm,
But they will come back
yeah.
if you don't change. So you
Yeah.
got to reduce the amount of estrogenic properties in foods. So if you're eating any dairy products, you're eating any animal products, you're going to have to really reduce that. Cheese, you're going to have to really reduce those high estrogenic
Mm,
foods. Eggs
mm,
are extremely high. So you want to
mm-hmm,
eliminate those out the diet. You want to go
mm.
back to about an 85% plant-based diet with a lot
Okay.
of green vegetables. Eat a salad every day, plenty of fruit. That will reduce the
Mm.
amount of estrogen. Now, I would encourage you to eat more yams, take
Yams.
yams because they're high in progesterone.
Wow.
Take some teas called wild yam tea. You want to get a supplement, it's called progesterone cream. That's the principal one you need to block the estrogen. So, start using the progesterone cream. You rub that on your thigh or your backside a little
Wow.
bit. And what it would
Mm,
do, it would block the estrogen. And that will, as the estrogen blocks, your fibroids will shrink. You're so young.
mm.
Now, I didn't ask you, how large are your fibroids? Do you know?
The largest one's 8 centimeters in diameter. My consultant says that I've got the womb of a 4-month pregnant woman.
Yeah, yeah. You must get those taken out. It'll
Yeah.
take you too long to reduce those. I mean, you'll be
Yes, it will.
40, almost 50 years old before you reduce those fibroids. So
Mm,
yes, if you was in your late 40s, I would say I wouldn't do it. But at your age,
mm.
I think you're doing the best. Get it removed and then get that progesterone cream, reduce the amount of estrogenic proper foods in your diet. And I think you could do all right. If you need any help with that, you can email me too, and we'll see can we get you a program on that.
Thank you. You're so kind. Just quick one. Yams, there's different types of yam. Is there a specific yam that you recommend?
Well, the sweet potatoes, I know y'all got, in the islands, they got all kind of yams, but sweet potatoes are very high in progesterone.
Okay.
So, but all of them have it in them. Some are higher than others.
Okay.
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 All
Well,
right.
thank you so much. I will definitely be in touch with you. I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right. The
Thank
next
you.
one, is Josette.
Thank you very much. I would just want to ask whether there's anything for glaucoma. My son, who is 38 years old, he's just been started on glaucoma treatment. Anything natural, please. Thank you.
Okay, now can your son, he can still see?
Yes, he still sees. He wears glasses.
Okay, and how old is he?
He's 38.
Okay, yes, there's hope for him. He's probably got tunnel vision if he's got glaucoma. But what you want to do is take 6 ounces of spring water, not distilled water, spring water.
Yeah.
Take 1 teaspoon of table salt. Take 1 ounce of vegetable glycerin. Mix that together. And you're going to make an eye drop. Having to put 2 to 3 drops in his eyes twice a day. That will lower the pressure of glaucoma. Then he must make sure his bowels are moving 2 to 3 times a day. Give him 1 tablespoon of psyllium powder, psyllium, mixed in about 6 to 8 ounces of juice. Have him to take 3 capsules of senna every other day. Then let him drink at least 8 glasses of water a day. That should make him have 2 to 3 bowel movements or more a day. That would help lower the pressure also. Let him drink plenty of carrot juice, vegetable juices. At that age, he may not eat a lot of salads, and that's one of the causes of it. When they don't eat enough of the green vegetables and salad, they're going to develop glaucoma. So him eat a lot of salads, green foods, and that should help him a lot. That's what I would recommend. Let him be on that program from 30 to 60 days and see if it improve his vision.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. The next person, we got Stacy back. All right, go ahead.
Elder, sorry, I was trying to write. I was trying to catch up with you. I didn't get the method for the garlic enema. Could you repeat slowly, please?
You didn't get the method.
The garlic enema.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, please. The method, yeah.
Take one whole bulb of garlic, not the clove, the whole bulb.
Yeah.
Chop it up and put it in the blender. Fill the blender up with water. Liquefy that. Strain it.
Yep.
Put about 6 to 8 ounces of garlic tea in a fleet enema. Lubricate the tip.
Okay.
Inject that in the rectum. Hold it 5 minutes or more. Keep doing that until you bring your pressure down. At the same token, you want to give yourself a hot foot bath. And that should do it. I mean, I'll put a cold compress on the head and a hot foot bath, and I'll check it about every 15, 20 minutes, and you'll see the pressure going down. You can also drink a little of the garlic tea, and that would help. Make sure
roughly
that
how much water in the blender?
fill the whole blender up.
Okay.
Now, I'm gonna give you a bowel cleanser that would help maintain it and keep your pressure down. Take 1 pound of psyllium.
Yeah.
Take 1/3 of a pound of alfalfa powder.
That's 1 pound alfalfa powder, yeah?
1/3 of a pound.
Third, okay.
1/3 of a pound of bran fiber.
1/3 bran fiber, okay.
And what you want to do is to put 1/3 of a pound of garlic powder. You can get the powdered garlic. Put 1/3 of a pound of garlic powder in there.
Okay.
And you mix all that together. And you take 1 tablespoon and you mix that in 6 to 8 ounces of juice. Shake it up, drink it 2 to 3 times a day. In your case, I want you to take 4 center capsules, not 3. I want you to take 4 center capsules every other day.
Okay.
And make sure you drink at least 8 glasses of water. Get on a good walking regimen. If you need to lose weight, go on a low-calorie diet. Eat about 85% raw diet. Get plenty of exercise.
Okay.
Right.
Lovely. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Okay. The next person quickly. I think we got about 6 minutes left. So I think this is going to be the last 2 hands that we're going to take. Veronica is the next. Unmute yourself, please. Thank you.
Hello, I have a question, please, on behalf of my friend. I just asked her to come on here to ask you, but she's not able to do it, so I will read her message. She wants to know what types of fruits and vegetables she can eat having diabetes type 2, and the same thing for having arthritis. I am at the end of menopause and starting to having trouble with my memory and pain on my legs and joints.
Okay. Well, with the diabetes, what is her blood sugar running?
I don't know.
I'm going to assume it's high. I'm just going to say it's high. She needed plenty of vegetables. Broccoli, cauliflower, plenty of vegetables. Now, she can eat raw vegetables and she can eat steamed vegetables, preferably raw. That's going to drop her blood sugar in itself. She also needs to make sure that she take a little golden seal tea. Golden seal is a natural insulin. Tell her to take about a half a teaspoon of golden seal twice a day in some water. That will help
Sorry,
bring her back. Golden seal.
Golden seal.
Yes.
Okay.
About half a teaspoon twice a day. She needs to eliminate a lot of fats in her diet. The fats are worse than sugar.
Okay.
And I would say, you know, email me and I can easily give you a program for diabetes. I can give you a whole protocol for diabetes, and in 10 days she could be through with the diabetes.
Wow,
So
thank you so much.
it'll have all the herbs and all the things that you do to bring your blood sugar. If she's on insulin, it'll give her some substitutes she could use for insulin so she can wean herself off of it.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you for that. Okay, please don't, nobody else. We are almost come to the end of our program. Just these hands that I'm going to, Miriam, is that Miriam from the north?
Hello. Hi, Pastor Bernard. Hi, Elder Wilson. My question is, number one, that's one of your pictures, Elder Wilson, that you painted just behind you, right?
I am, and I'm an artist. I am, yes.
Yes, I just wanted people to know that as well, that you did that painting, and are you selling any of them?
Well, I'm a sculptor and a portrait artist. I had to pray to God take that from me because I was possessed with a demon. And all I wanted to do was to be an artist. I never wanted to be a Christian. I never wanted to be nothing. I want to be a free living artist. So I prayed that God would remove that desire for being an artist from me and I would serve him. And he took it away for 21 years. I had no desire to paint or do a sculpture. I'm a better sculptor than I am a painter. I can carve out of wood, marble, anything. So he did, he removed it. And then 21 years later, he gave it back to me and told me, now you can paint. And I can do it, but I have no desire. My son is a better artist than me. He really is. And I'm trying to coach him that he won't get possessed with it. Because take over your life, you know. So,
okay.
So yeah, I don't sell it. I don't sell it.
Thank you. My question is, I've got someone who's a new person, a new medical missionary, and they are a bit skeptical on starting because they don't feel like I'm ready. They feel like they've done so much training and they keep doing training, but they don't feel like I'm ready. What would you advise to someone asking that question, please?
Well, this is something we encounter all the time. I mean, you know, I'm never comfortable in doing medical missionary work. And that's a good thing. But the best way to get started is to get started. Don't try to take on more than you're capable of. And don't practice medical missionary work. Have a fundamental knowledge of what you're doing. Understand the human body. Understand physiology, anatomy, food chemistry, body chemistry, so that you can combine those together. So when you recommend a person to eat something, you know the physiology and anatomy enough to know if their body can take it. Learn how to troubleshoot the problem. If there's a digestional problem, fix that. If there's a liminary problem, fix that. If the blood pressure is up, reduce that. If the output of urine is sluggish, increase that. If they're dehydrated, rehydrate them. So you fix those things. Check their vital signs, their respiration, their blood pressure, the oxygen saturation, blood sugar. Make sure all of those things are working at an optimal level. And then remember, it's a faith move. You don't know if it's going to work, but you trust in God's word that it's going to work. And if it's something you're not familiar with, if it's the first time you've done it, consult with someone, talk with them, and see can you get some input, and be in contact with somebody if you have some problems.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. The last hand we have here is Michelle. Michelle, unmute yourself. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, Brother Mamon. I just wanted to ask a question. in one of the last slides, you talked about Parkinson's. I just wanted to know if we wanted to help someone with Parkinson's, what's the best way to help? I know you talked about banana herb or something.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, the best way is to get a complete protocol, a diet protocol, herbs and vitamins, physical therapy, hydrotherapy program. I have that, and I'm sure others have it too, but I do have that. And let us kind of help guide you through it. It is a program, a condition that responds very well to a program. There are different types of Parkinson. Not all Parkinson actually have the visible shaking or tremble. So knowing that can help also. So I would say contact us possibly about a program, and then we can see Miriam. She's the hottest working girl in medical missionary work. Contact her.
Yes.
And she can be a referral, and she know how to contact me, and we'll see how we can help you.
Okay.
Thank you.